This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hold on, stop.
Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill. You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
What is going on, and welcome to Take on the World with
Yours truly, Johnny.
and
Nathan Blaze.
and me, Mike D. We are here once again. We just wrapped up a great episode
Yeah, that was fun.
that you probably, hopefully, heard last week
Yeah, hopefully.
on artificial intelligence, and this week we have something much different, going back to a little history. But before we do that, we have to talk about Deluxe Edition Network. We are a proud part of the Deluxe Edition Network. There's something on the network for everybody's podcasting tastes: sports, movies, music, history, and yours truly, Take on the World. Go to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Check them all out. And while you're there, check out the Spotlight Podcast. And this being the month of November, it's No Shave November, the month of the beard.
Oh,
Yes.
It's the Spotlight Podcast is beard laws.
can you trim?
No. Well, you can trim. You can't shave.
Okay.
Beard laws does everything. And the other one is, drumroll, Take on the World. We are.
Whoa.
So
Where's the?
when I put the commercials up for this one, I will not be putting our commercials. I'll be picking another podcast to promote them, because we're promoting ourselves for the next 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Oh, look at you.
So that's that. What's going on, Johnny?
Oh, I just got my new soap from Copper John's.
Oh yeah,
The
Ooh.
Oasis. Oh, it's what is it? Basil and
lime.
lime.
That
Oh,
I
it smells so
love
good.
that one.
Yeah, it smells really good.
And then I got the what
It was
something mud.
Louisiana mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louisiana mud.
I took a whiff of that before I came down. It is
Still in your
so
nostrils?
Good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
It's like a cherry bomb.
Yes.
So Copper John's is a sponsor of the show. We do buy all our products from them, so we use our own discount code, which will be right here for you to use as well. There will be a link below.
Love them.
It's a direct link, so you just click that link. The discount code's automatically put in there. Check them out. If I get beard butter, I get
Yeah, I have a
Beard
beard
balm.
butter. It's I can't remember the name of it. But you know, I don't really grow that great of a beard. Not like you two gentlemen.
Yes.
look,
but-
I'm gonna say this, dude. He's got an impressive beard for his age.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm still learning to take proper care of it, finding where I like it.
Like I could always tell.
You got to watch because you work in the food industry, so
Yeah.
they make you trim it.
I
Yeah.
can always tell when you have your Copper Johns on, because it still smells not like you doused yourself cologne, like too overpowering, but when he breezes right on by you, you get a little whiff.
Well, the
Mm.
one I'm using right now was the October Spotlight Scent or whatever. It was Crystal Lake.
Yeah,
So-
that's it.
Jason reference. I actually love it. I wish it was a every month thing because I would use that all the time.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll use mine when these little squirrely hairs get out of control and they look they look terrible. So I'll paste them back down on my face and it makes me smell good.
I just like that my beard doesn't itch when I use it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So check out Copper John's. That was not the official commercial, but there it is. Discount code.
Ooh.
So today, John threw me a topic. And when he first threw me, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I should have known this because I did know this. I just didn't remember the dude's name. And you want to tell us who it is?
I think I'm saying this right. Crispus Attucks?
Attucks.
Attucks.
Now, the research said he was of African and Native American descent. And is often considered the first martyr of the Revolutionary War.
The American Revolutionary War.
Right.
Yes.
That's the only one that counts.
Well, we don't want to throw him misinformation here.
Oh, there's plenty of misinformation coming. No worries.
I think we started when we butchered the guy's name.
Yeah.
So, without getting too much into it,
Should I tell him how I...
yeah. Tell me how you came across it.
Well, as I'm often doing, watching YouTube shorts. I was watching this. I don't know. The guy's like bulletproof, or he's indestructible, I guess.
So it was Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, which you remembered. I
Yeah.
didn't. It was just a short of this guy. It shows him in a restaurant, and these thugs are in there giving the owners a hard time, trying to extort them. He goes in there, breaks up the fight. They try and beat him up. The one guy punches him in the face, breaks his arm. He throws the dude through the window, and he basically chases the thugs out and saves the restaurant owners and says he'll protect them.
Okay.
And then the next short I saw was this again. I was like, oh, I kind of like that. That was good. So it was the main character,
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, and he's standing in front of a museum, I think it was. And this guy comes up behind him and he's holding a gun to the back of his head. He's trying to rob him. And he says something to the effect of, I can't believe you're going to rob one of your own brothers in front of a museum that's dedicated to this Crispus Attucks, who was such and such and such, and how disrespectful. You young kids, you don't know history and you don't know anything. And he turns around and the kid like shoots him and the bullet like bounces off of him and the kid gets scared and runs away. And so I was like, oh, who's this guy? I'm like, I want to know more about him. I'd never heard the name. So here we are.
So Johnny shot me the name and I'm like, who the hell is that? And the minute I did the first second of research, I'm like, oh yes. Okay. So they don't know when his exact birth date was. They think it was somewhere around 1723. And he was born in Framingham, Massachusetts.
Framingham.
Yeah, Framingham.
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 Framingham
okay.
or Muchassets?
Yeah, Muchassets.
I'm not even gonna try. I don't want to humiliate myself. I'll let you two have all the fun with that one.
Massachusetts.
So the historians don't know, or they argue whether he was a free person or a runaway slave.
So yeah, he would have been up north, which...
Well, they still had slaves up there then.
Yeah, that's...
So Framingham, Massachusetts town history is written in 1847 to 1887, described him as a slave of Deacon William Brown, but is unclear as to whether he was his original owner.
This feels very familiar.
In 1750, Brown advertised for the return of a runaway slave named Crispus.
Wait a minute. Is this what that movie was based on?
No.
That
12
runaway
years a slave?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, because that almost is the same punchline, but storyline.
Well,
he's a free man, and this guy claims that, I own you. You have to come back with me. And it was his struggle. It was like, no, you don't own me. I'm free. I'm not coming back with you.
Well, 12 years a slave, he was a northerner who went down south to visit and was basically enslaved while he was there.
What?
Like they just said, you're a slave now.
So not at all what I just said?
No.
What the fuck? What? There was some movie. Okay, I don't want to get off track here, but I just sworn I heard that in a movie.
So you got to move your phone. It's making staticies.
Is that what's that doing that?
Yeah. advertised for the return of a slave named Crispus, describing Attucks and his clothing and where he was last seen, with a reward of 10 pounds for whoever found and returned him. So besides being that's disputed, whether he was a slave or a free man. Nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows if the dude who was the first martyr of the American Revolution was this same Crispus or not. But Attucks worked as a sailor and a stevedore. You know what a stevedore is, Nathan?
I should.
It's a dock worker.
I said. I said.
I didn't know. I had to look it up. He spent much of his. He was actually worked on whaling ships too.
That had to have been a rough life.
Yeah. Because whaling was still allowed up there then.
Yeah, they used the whale fat for a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Lubricants, lighting.
Got a bruise. A little bit of whale fat.
W.J. Watkins whale fat. Beer bomb.
So in pop culture, history and pop culture, he's described as an African American. However, two major sources of witnesses' testimony in the massacre in 1770 did not refer to him as black or Negro, but they referred to him as mulatto and Indian. Now, back then, mulatto did not mean it referred to
Sounds like an Italian.
someone who was Indian, American, native, full-blood Native American. It didn't really describe a skin tone or it described a skin tone rather than an ethnicity, and you know what I mean.
So they said he was American Indian and American Indian essentially.
Well, the term refers to a full-blooded Native American.
Oh, okay.
But pop culture describes him as a Negro. I don't know. See, in Potter's American Monthly, which was a journal or paper or magazine back then, the term was used interchangeably by court.
Court system?
The court transcripts. So they put the transcript in the paper. It said, question, did you see a mulatto among the persons who was surrounding the soldiers? Answer, I did not observe. Question, did they seem to be sailors or townsmen? Answer, they were dressed in habits of sailors. Question, did you know the Indian who was killed? Answer, no. Question, did you see any of them press on the soldiers with a cordwood stick? A cordwood stick. Answer, no. Now, cordwood stick is just a cut piece of wood.
Okay.
That you would throw in a fire.
All right.
So during the trial, he was not referred to as African American or Negro. But pop culture puts him forth that way. Maybe he was half and half. I don't know. But that was just what I found in the research. So on March 5th, 1770, he became a central figure in the Boston Massacre when tensions between the British soldiers and American colonists escalated. He was one of the first people killed in the incident.
Oh.
So there were several shot during the Boston Massacre. I think 6 died.
I don't remember. My American history teacher.
I have it
crying.
I have it down someplace. But he was the first one to die. Someone else was taken to the hospital and died afterwards, but he was the first one to be known as the first death. His death, along with the deaths of the other four colonists, played a significant role in galvanizing anti-British sentiment and further fueling the revolutionary spirit in American colonies.
Man, those redcoats.
So he was used as his death was used as a symbol for early resistance against the British.
You don't ever hear this guy.
No, I did. Once I looked at what we were looking at, I did know who he was, but I didn't know him by name, and that's a shame.
I wager to say it's probably about 90% of people wouldn't know this guy's name.
Probably not. I only recognize the name, so it probably was mentioned in one of my textbooks in high school or middle school, like once. But like, I still didn't really know him. I just recognized the name.
Yeah.
He is celebrated as a heroic figure in American history, particularly within the context of the fight for freedom and independence. So I figured we'd talk about some of the events leading up to the Boston Massacre. In 1768, the colonist unrest grew as the British sent more troops because there was tensions. They've been simmering between the colonists and the British soldiers in Boston for years due to various factors, including the enforcement of the Townshend Act, which imposed taxes on imports, which everybody says that's why there was the Boston Tea Party, and that's why we started the revolution, because of taxation without representation. The tea tax was one of the taxes that they
pushed them too far.
Yep.
Tax my tea? That's too far now.
The increased presence in British troops in Boston was a source of constant friction. Like there was skirmishes and like bad blood everywhere.
Yeah.
The soldiers were stationed in the city to maintain order, supposedly, but it was really to put the colonists under the thumb and say, "Hey, know your place." So what was called the radical Whig Party, had coordinated waterfront mobs against the authorities. The presence of troops, instead of reducing tensions, further served to inflame them, which you send more troops, we get more pissed off.
And
it makes sense.
The rest is history.
So the direct events on March 5th, 1770, which was the Boston Massacre. After dusk, March 5th, 1770, a wig maker's apprentice mistakenly accused a British officer of not paying a bill. The officer ignored his insults, but a sentry intervened after the boy began to physically assault the officer. So I wonder what they mean by intervened.
Probably shot him.
He probably hit him with the butt of his gun.
Most likely, I would assume.
Both townspeople and 9 soldiers of the 29th Regiment of Foot gathered. Colonists threw snowballs and debris at the soldiers.
Oh, snowballs, I'm defeated.
Run away, run away.
Run away now, run away now.
On the evening of March 5th, a group of Boston colonists, including Attucks, confronted a British sentry, a private, outside the customs house. An angry crowd of colonists gathered, and the situation escalated as more British soldiers arrived to support the sentry. The crowd was taunting the soldiers, throwing snowballs, chunks of ice, and other objects. In the chaos, the soldiers, under Captain Thomas Preston, began to feel threatened and ultimately opened fire on the crowd. Crispus Attucks, a colonist of African and Native American heritage, which is disputed, was one of the first to be shot and killed. In total, 5 colonists, including Attucks, were killed, and several were wounded. Attucks took 2 ricocheted bullets to the chest, and was believed to be the first to die.
The hell they ricochet off of?
Other people. Well, you know how that they were shooting lead balls, so there was no accuracy to them.
No.
And most of the time during the war, they would hold their gun up, go to pull a trigger, and turn their face, so that the
flash one
wouldn't get them. So a lot of times, if you're driving and you look to the right, your car has a tendency to veer to the right.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with shooting, I would think. If you look to the right,
absolutely.
you're gonna pull yourself.
It's just your natural tendency.
Yeah. So who knows what it bounced off of?
Bounced off a jug of wine. The hobo's jug of wine killed him and this poor guy.
Hey, who took my wine?
You're dirty sons of bitches.
And that's the real reason the revolution started.
The autopsy was done, and they found that he was felled by 2 bullets to his chest, one of them goring the right lobe of the lungs and a great part of the liver, most horribly.
Jesus Christ. Fuck this guy up.
Attucks' body was carried to
No, I'm not going to try that one.
Nathan.
I don't even know where are we.
Faneuil
Right here.
Hall? Faneuil Hall?
Faneuil Hall.
Okay.
Faneuil?
Yeah, Faneuil.
We're at Leyden State until Tuesday, March 8th,
Excuse me.
when he and the other victims were buried in the same grave site in Boston, Granary burying ground. Okay.
What if he can go? What if he still has a gravesite?
I think it's still there.
I mean, for as much renown, I guess would be the word I'd use here. For as much renown as he has, I'm sure if the grave itself isn't there, there's something marking it.
Like what? Why isn't this guy? They say he's hailed as a hero. I've never heard of him. Why isn't he on a shirt or a flag or something or a dollar bill?
I would think because of the time he was perceived as African American, and
I mean, you don't get any more American than that. Like,
no, I mean, to me, it didn't make a difference what color he was.
no,
Yeah,
but
no.
you're literally there standing up to the first to people. You know, you're not behind a keyboard. You know,
It was
talking trash.
It was the ultimate take one for the team.
He's got a what did you call it? A fucking piece of stick from a cord of wood.
What was it?
A cordwood stick.
Yeah, it was
Cordwood stick.
Yeah, it was cordwood stick.
Yes, cordwood stick.
Threatening everyone that he's going to jam it up their candy ass.
You don't get more American than that.
I'll jam this up your candy ass. So when he died, he was approximately 47 years old. Nobody knows for sure.
I don't think anybody knew how old they were back then, except for probably like people who have money because they could afford to have it printed in the paper or documented.
Well, I mean, the church, but then again, his records weren't that well kept, obviously.
Well, until they started doing a census, which was long after we became a country.
Yeah.
The immediate aftermath of the Boston Massacre,
Boston.
it provoked outrage among colonists and was widely publicized, leading to further escalation.
Man, you're really struggling.
I know.
I think that's enough.
No, it's not the beer. What? Do you need one?
No, I'm
Escalation of anti-British sentiment.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt, the host of the Beard Laws Podcast, a podcast that has nothing to do with beards. A podcast where we aim to entertain and interact with our live viewers, but our listeners, they're like the quiet person that never talks sitting around the bonfire because the rest of the group is so entertaining, hilarious, wild, and a little bit dumb. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let Beard Laws and the boys, Toby, Brandon, Logan, Zach, Richie, and our occasional special guest entertain you. We're live on the Beard Laws YouTube Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and for whatever reason you want to see us and or our beards, check us out, thebeardlawspodcast.com. We're everywhere.
Face it, dating sucked in your 20s, gets worse in your 30s, and your 40s, forget it.
It's a cesspool out there, and we're your flotation device.
Join us weekly for saucy chat, ridiculous love gurus,
And MILF-worthy fun to spice up your life.
the MILF and Me Podcast. Every Wednesday on your favorite pod platform.
And the MILFandMePod.com.
The MILF and Me Podcast.
Captain Thomas Preston,
Tommy Preston.
and his soldiers were arrested and put on trial for murder. They were defended by John Adams
No shit.
and Joshua
Quincy.
Quincy, both whom would later become prominent American leaders. The trial concluded with 6 soldiers being acquitted, while 2 were found guilty of the lesser charge of manslaughter and branded on the thumb.
The hell's that mean?
They took a
A
nice
branding
little-
iron, and they branded their thumb.
What the hell's the point of that?
just to mark them.
That was their punishment.
They were marked men.
It was like, give me your thumb, smack your patty, don't do it again. But that like the courts, I would think at that time were controlled by
I can't
the
think
crown.
of a stupider punishment.
If I'm remembering correctly from a history class, they were charged in the colony's courts, and that's why it's so big that why am I blanking?
So they
on his name?
they weren't tried under the crown?
I don't think the crown would have given a shit.
No, I don't
Well,
believe.
of course they did. They were British soldiers.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not
but
exactly sure who the judge was. The judge was presiding over the court, but I remember that it was a huge deal that why am I blanking on his name? John Adams. That's why it was such a huge deal that John Adams
was his defense lawyer.
Was defending him. Like, people were outraged at him, but he made it a point that like we're angry because we're not being fairly treated.
Well,
what's
John
the point
Adams,
if we can't do the same to them?
Wasn't John Adams like pretty much with the British in the beginning, and then he kind of took not a back seat, but kind of just not turned on him, but was like,
well, here's the thing.
Or did I just make that whole story up?
No, I don't think you made it up. I think what had happened was,
now tell me, Nancy, what had happened?
During this time, the number of people who were against the crown, who were against British rule, were less than the number of people who didn't give a shit or were for it. So a lot of people, like they weren't as upset as
just really didn't. They could care less about it.
Yeah, and then when stuff like this would happen, they would use it as propaganda to get everybody else juiced up.
Yeah,
we're going to wind everybody up with this, and that's what happened here. So I don't know the specifics with John Adams, but there was more than one John Adams too, because the presidential the Mount Washington, the presidential range, has more than one Adams as the name of the mountains.
So it wasn't the president, later on president John Adams.
There was a John Adams president. I don't know if
this wasn't him.
I don't know. I think it was.
I'm pretty sure it was him.
I don't know.
This dude was all over the place. And I remember that I think it was that Netflix series on John Adams that was like a week long or something. It was a mini series. That was really good. And I was trying to pull information from that, but I don't really remember hardly any of it. I just remember him always like grabbing his teeth and he'd be like, "Oh." That's the only thing I took out of the whole fucking thing was he had messed up teeth.
So they branded him on the thumb, which I don't get.
And they stood them side by side and they plucked one brow from their eyebrow. One hair from the live eyebrow. It's like they took their ration of grog away from them for a day.
Now that would be true punishment.
In particular, Adams charged Attucks with having undertaken to be a hero of the night and with having precipitated the conflict by his mad behavior. So he basically blamed the victim, which congratulations, lawyers. You have a long fucking line of blaming the victim.
Yeah, this seems like this shit just continues to happen to the same day.
The incidents deepened divisions between the American colonists and the British government, contributed to growing unrest and calls for independence. So, like I said, they used it as propaganda to get everybody all ginned up.
Fear sells, man.
Yep. So 2 years later, U.S. founding father Sam Adams and cousin of John Adams named the Boston Massacre he basically named it the Boston Massacre. It wasn't named till 2 years later. It wasn't called anything other than an incident in its time. 2 years later, Sad Adams called it Boston Massacre to help ensure that it would never be forgotten. Paul Revere made a copy from which prints were made and distributed. Oh, there's a picture of. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, because I think
this picture.
Because it was
It's more of a
casted.
painting, isn't it? It's painting too. I think.
Well, yeah, but
It's a famous picture of the Boston Massacre.
Yeah, it was casted in metal. I think I know what you're talking about. It was like casted in copper or bronze or something like that.
But it was painted.
Oh, I'm sure it was painted many a time over.
See, I always thought there were more than 5 people killed. I thought they killed like upwards of in the 20s or 30s.
There might have been like 20 or 30
There he
people
is.
injured somehow in like
That
the
don't look
mass.
like a ricochet to me.
Well,
That looks like
it's an artist's interpretation of
the
what
gun.
happened.
Yeah, this is a dramatization.
There's another picture.
He came at me with a ladle. I had no choice but to defend myself.
Ladle, ladle, ladle. I made it out of clay. See, there's another picture. Same thing, just a very different. But in this one, it doesn't show, like the other one shows what clearly looks like an African American person. On this one, it doesn't show any African American people. The two people, this guy's got 2 holes in him.
This guy's head's leaking.
Right, but this would indicate that this was Crispus.
Yeah.
So, but they made prints of this and distributed them, and used it as propaganda.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why they called it the massacre, even though it was numbers wise, it really was more of an incident than a massacre. But that's why they used that language to just stir people.
Well, for 5 people to die at one time back then,
Oh, true.
that's a massacre.
Especially,
It'd be
I wouldn't
considered
call
a
him-
mass shooting today.
I would consider them unarmed, but come on, they had fucking sticks.
Sticks and rocks and snowballs and ice.
Snowballs.
Like hobo with his jug of wine.
Yeah. A hobo with an empty jug of wine. Where'd my wine go? Who shot my wine? The Boston Massacre served as a powerful propaganda tool for the American patriots who used to feel anti-British sentiment and garner support with a growing movement. And they did. They used it. It kept ginning people up. They talk about it, spread these pictures around, and people get more and more pissed off, and more people grew to hate the British because of it. But this was the ignition to what would ultimately be the Revolutionary War. The incident also highlighted the importance of a fair legal system and the right to trial by jury. I don't know if there's anything fair about that trial.
I mean,
I don't think so.
If the end of it was only 2 guys or 3 guys got convicted of a lesser charge, and their punishment was, we're going to brand your thumb.
I mean, to be fair, of course, this is assuming that I'm remembering correctly. And, well, we all know how that can go sometimes. But to be fair, when the jury is other colonists, many of whom were either people who were just on the fence or anti-British at the time, the fact that they were able to get these guys off with so little of a punishment,
it's obvious they were biased.
well, maybe, but still, with how
Or I say
riled
not
people
biased,
were,
like they were more on their side.
Well, they basically were saying that this whole thing was precipitated by Crispus and
Right.
his band of merry
But
stick wielders.
it's their wooden ladles. But now it looks to me that like, well, we can't let this go completely unpunished, so we're going to take you 2 guys, sorry, and then we're gonna brand your thumb. But I think like you think about like if one of your loved ones got shot in this massacre and all of them but 2 got off, and the two that didn't get off got their thumbs branded.
Well, yeah, it's like
I'd be a little pissed off about that.
Fuck yeah, I would. I mean, we brand your thumb, so now you'll know not to shoot at unarmed people.
Like it's not. I'm gonna look up and see what
And
The branding of the thumb means.
Yeah.
And I mean, potentially even they could have purposely let them get off so lightly to even rifle people up even more.
So I want to know for sure if, and I'm remiss for not researching this deeper, if it was a British court or if it was a colony court.
Like I said,
I mean, you said you thought it was a colony court.
I'm vividly remembering it being a colony court because there was just no way that they'd be able to get anything done quickly if they tried to assemble a fully British court.
It's a pretty much get out of jail free card.
Okay.
The branding of the thumb?
Yeah. So they said it's convicts who successfulully pleaded benefit of clergy and those found guilty of manslaughter instead of murder were branded on the thumb with a T for theft, F for felon, or M for murder, since they would be unable to receive this benefit more than once.
So don't do it again.
Yeah, it's basically a slap on the wrist.
Now, don't do this again. And if you do, I'll be very disappointed in you.
So this has always been credited with the setting the stage for the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776 and the birth of the United States. But I think whether he was African American or Indian or of mixed origin, I don't care. He should be remembered in American history as an important figure.
Somebody
Absolutely.
who was not scared to stand up to the British and fight for freedom.
Yeah, no, because I mean, that would have been treason. And when obviously when he was going up against the soldiers and everything, like there were more people who didn't care or liked the British than those who didn't. Like there was no getting out of that for him, but he felt strongly enough about it that he didn't care.
But I look at this and this all stems back to either a British officer not paying his wig bill or a British officer being unfairly accused of not paying his wig bill. And I say, why the fuck were you wearing wigs?
I did read a thing they said back in that day, a lot of like why women wore wigs, because the lice was so bad, they would just shave their head so they wouldn't have to deal with the lice and wear a wig.
A
That's
wig,
so gross,
probably full of lice.
Ugh. Well, yeah, you throw that wig out and go get another one and not pay for it and shoot the guy for accusing you for.
And then you can start the American Revolution. But yeah, like the officers wore powdered wigs, like the freaking judges and stuff. Even in England now, they still the judges still wear the powdered wigs.
Put the powder wig on.
Do they actually? I thought they didn't anymore.
The lawyers do too.
The barrister. The barrister.
The barista makes coffee.
Well, maybe he's both. He's like
he's a lawyer who makes coffee.
Comes in with a big box of that Dunkin' coffee.
Guys, who wants coffee? You're guilty. So I don't know. This is someone who should be remembered.
And I mean, sadly, really isn't. And even in
I did not recognize the name when John sent it to me, and that's
Nor
sad
did
because I
You
love
should be
history.
ashamed of yourself.
I am ashamed of myself.
American history.
Man. But Revolutionary War history is not my forte. World War II, Vietnam, and Korea is more what I have ever focused on.
I loved American Revolutionary history, and I used to have a friend who was a die-hard know-it-all for American Revolution history. And if I still talked to him, I would definitely asked him about this.
I do love Revolutionary War history. I love Civil War history too. That's why I like going down to Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think it's a shame that we're not taught as much about the Civil War as we are like anything else, because that's a pretty big part of our country.
I don't know. When I went to school, we were taught a lot about the Civil War.
We were taught a little bit, but it was.
I think
we maybe it's just because we spent like 6 years going over American history, Revolutionary history. I mean, and we had 1 or 2 maybe of Civil War history, maybe so. Just in comparison, maybe, but it just feels like in my memory, we talked about it very little.
I think that was the same in my school. They did have, when I was in high school, they did have classes that you can take that were more in depth. Like,
Yeah.
I think there was my buddy, he took a World War I, II class, and that teacher fucking absolutely hated me. And we got into a couple altercations.
That's hard to believe.
And I remember one time I was walking down a hallway, and I used to wear this patch on my camo pants, and it was a swastika crossed out. And he saw me and he's like, "You take that off your pants right now." And I said, "Why?" I said, "It's a crossed out swastika." I was like, "Are you a Nazi?" And he's like, "Yeah, just take that off now." I'm like, "You're a Nazi! You're a Nazi!" Getting drug away down the hallway. Nazi!
But you were a big punk rocker.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
I
too.
tried.
But I didn't fit the. You fit the description with the fucking spiked haircut and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have all that.
I got to see if I can find my prom picture. Although I didn't go to prom, I went in 11th grade with my girlfriend at the time. I did not want to go. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this. But I had a red mohawk, and then the sides of my hair where I bleached it so it looked like leopard print. Dude, it was badass, man.
I've seen that picture.
I was like super thin.
Your mohawk picture.
Yeah.
Leopard print bleached hair. I gotta see that now.
It was more like blonde. It wasn't like white. It was blonde. So it looked like leopard print.
Okay.
So if you we used, I forget, it was this white powder shit you mix with water. It'll burn your fucking hair like hell.
Yeah, it'll melt your hair.
Yeah. And you probably did this. I don't know. We used to take our jeans and we get just straight bleach.
Yeah.
And just like sprinkle the bleach all over your jeans and let them sit for a little bit and then wash them. And you'd have like that classic 80s, like what did they call that? I don't just want to say they were like bleached pants.
What was it called? Not stonewashed.
No, stonewashed has more of a. These were like legit, like you'd see like 80s hair bands with the big white spots on their blue jeans.
But stonewashing was like that too. I had a stonewashed jean jacket, and it was like a very light blue with like not big patches of white, but there would be like streaks of white in it. Like
yeah. So you could get some cool designs out of it, and then the bleach just just deteriorated the fabric, and then they'd be all full of holes within like a month.
Yeah.
But hey, that's all the style.
That's right. Hey, we were original.
See, but I never did that because if I had bleached a pair of jeans my mom got me, I would have got my ass kicked.
I used to have this shirt, and I made it. We used to make our own shirts, like Martyr. We did screen printing, and I had the one. It had a picture of a mustache. It said "Mustache rides 10 cents," and I get it from that one movie with what's his face. I don't know his actor's name, and the double douche from Roadhouse.
Oh, Elliot.
Something
Elliot.
Yeah,
Sam Elliott. And that's what he had in that show. He had a shirt that said "Mustache rides 10 cents." Everybody would make fun of me. You don't even have a mustache. I'm like, yeah, but it's funny. Yeah, duh. It's called irony. So that's what I have.
I don't feel like we took this on. Just not a whole lot of information here, but I feel like he should kind of be like more. There's probably hundreds of people like this. Like that freaking
yeah.
That I showed my dad that fat electrician.
Yeah.
On
McNeese.
Cassius Clay.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Cassius Clay.
Yeah. The not the boxer. Just so you know.
He was named after
Cassius Clay was named after this Cassius.
Yes,
Clay.
I vaguely remember who you're talking about.
So that'd be actually a good topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we could do it as good as he did, though.
No. Fat electrician, props to you, bro, because
I lived one. He was slicing motherfuckers open like Amazon packages.
Dude, he could tell a story. I love listening to him. I love listening. Yeah. I like the term baloney mist.
Baloney mist number 1, baloney mist number 2.
Remember that?
Yes, baloney mist.
When we were watching when the United States took out
proportional
half of proportional response, half of Iran's navy. Yeah, so you're right. I don't feel like we did this one justice. But there wasn't much information because they don't even know if this is the same
guy,
Crispus, that was supposedly Mr. Brown's slave.
It's so vague, both because it's really old history and also because people at that time, they didn't really care if you were colored, Indian,
well, in the North, they didn't like as much, but there were still slaves in the North.
Yeah.
I think,
then especially.
I'm not sure what that first part of the story has to do with this. Like he was a runaway slave or he was a free man.
Well, I was just giving background.
No, I know,
him.
but I'm just saying, like, I would think that if he was a runaway slave, he probably wasn't going to be front and center. But then again, doesn't matter. He was still the guy who stood up and was shot twice in the chest.
Well, and I think that also just kind of says something like he very well probably is the guy responsible, or at least kind of responsible for the revolution, everything about America, and how they just kind of sweep everything about him under the rug.
Even to a lot of people in that time, like he was a hero to the movement, but to regular people, he was a rabble rouser.
And I think too, sad to say it, is because he was mulatto, black, whatever. Like, well, we're not going to give him credit. We're just kind of like.
I do feel that's true.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, which is fucking sad.
You look at throughout history, American history, and it's sad. You have like the Tuskegee Airmen. You have the Red Tail fighter pilot, the Red Tail Squadron.
That whole I don't know what it was, the Army, but they built the whole Alcan Highway. The
in the Revolution, the Civil War, Revolutionary War, you had the from the movie Glory, that whole regiment of black.
Who was that one with Matthew McConaughey?
Or Revolutionary War.
Who led that whole
Free State of Jones.
Free State of Jones. I love that movie.
I do too. And I don't know how much of that's true, but I think it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
But again, Hollywood fucks everything up.
Hollywood.
So we took on Crispus Attucks.
Still taking on the name.
Yeah, he's still trying to. Now you go take on the world.
The Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.